Hi everyone, and welcome to this tutorial for the AQA Power and Conflict Poetry Cluster. Today we're going to look at how you could make some poetry flashcards to help you with revision. So, the way that I see poetry flashcards going is that you should have around 6 for each poem. I'm going to talk you through 3 today based on My Last Duchess. The key to making flashcards is to not have too much written on them because then you might as well just make pages of notes. This is a quicker way because what flashcards are really designed for is to be able to hand them over to somebody and say, okay, quiz me on these. So I do like a bit of colour coding, you know that. So I'm going to assign the colour pink to My Last Duchess. So I'm just going to write My Last Duchess at the top. And this would be what I would consider the front of my flashcard. Now, obviously, some of you are way more creative than I, so feel free to make these as pretty as you like. I'm just doing this for functionality. So really, on the front of your card, what you should have is a question. And then on the back, the answer to that, so that when you are giving these cards to somebody, it's really clear the things they should be asking you and the things that you need to revise from. So I always think a good place to start is to think about the themes and key messages from the poem, and they should help you and inform you for what your question should be. So, for example, if we're thinking about My Last Duchess, one of the things that would be useful to know is the theme of power being corrupt. So my question on the front would be, how does Browning present power as corrupt? Okay, like I said, not pretty, but you get the idea. So this would literally be what the front looks like. It just has the poem on it and then a question. What you then would do is on the reverse of that card is you would make sure that you have then got key things that go on there. So quotations, but also a bit of analysis. Again, like I said, try and keep it to a minimum writing wise. You want to be able to just have words, maybe colours that trigger something in your brain. So if I'm looking at my poem now and I'm thinking, okay, how is power presented as corrupted? I'm going to go for the quotation. All smiles stopped together. So I know that when somebody asks me that question, I would need to remember that all smiles stopped together is an example of how Browning presents power as corrupt. It's corrupt because of the insinuation of that he's killed her. And so then what I would potentially do here is I'm just going to switch my pen and go to my link colour. So I might do something underneath or I might highlight or circle all of the S's and just make a little note here. So I've just made a little note. And again, this means that when you're being quizzed, at the very least, what you should remember is the quotation. But as you start to revise even more, you'd then remember your annotation. So you'd say something, somebody would ask you the question and you would say, okay, so it's all smiles stopped together. And they might say, what can you tell me about that quotation? And you would say, it's got sibilance in it and that sibilance creates a sinister tone. Already, that would really, really help you with your analysis. This is the kind of revision that I find really, really works with literature, but particularly with the poems because there are so many. You might also want to add in something to do with structure. So I'm just going to switch here, and I know that my structure colour is green, so I might just put a little note about structure, and then I might put, remember I'm thinking about how it shows that he's corrupt, and I might say combination of caesura and enjambment. And then I might just put inconsistent manipulative. Now you might say more, but essentially what you're doing here is this should trigger something. So for example, somebody asks you the question, how does Browning present power as corrupt? And you'll say, okay, so one of the ways he does it is through images such as all smiles stop together, because things like the sibilance in this, that sound really creates a sinister tone because of the hissing sound that it gives. We associate the hissing with snakes and evil and sin. So the image itself is suggestive, but also the sibilance reinforces that. Furthermore, from a structural point of view, Browning uses caesura and enjambment, and they work against each other to really present this inconsistent rhythm, which kind of shows that he's a manipulative character because he doesn't let his emotions just flow out, which would be pure enjambment. He has these stops in the middle where he's clearly thinking or overthinking what he's about to say. And that would be, all of that would come just from this card, okay? So let's try another one. Let's go for, just go back to my pink colour. So what else would I need to remember about My Last Duchess? I want to know about the arrogant speaker. So I could say, how does Browning present the Duke as arrogant? Okay, that's my question on the front. So then I would go to the back of that card, and I would consider then, how does he do that? So I'm looking at my poem. I know that the parenthesis I know that his obsession with art. So maybe I will, from a quote point of view, I'm going to put, not Fran, Fra Pandolf. And who's the other guy's name? It's Klaus of Innsbruck, isn't it? Klaus of Innsbruck. And then I might just make a little note here that just says obsession with art and possessions. If I'm going to talk about potentially the word possessions, what that makes me think of is the quotation, I call that piece a wonder now. Because I also know that there's quite a bit that I can say about that. So from that point of view, it's the reference to that piece and seeing the Duchess as an object And again, we've got that caesura, but also the word now implies lack of respect for living. Okay, so then I know that that's really useful for me to remember. Can I think of something structural? Remember, you don't all, if there's nothing structural to help you, then don't put it. It's only there if it's relevant. I can just think that in terms of structure, I'm going to go for the parenthesis. And on the parenthesis front, it's essentially why would that make him arrogant? So that would make him arrogant because it's false, thinks he... Oh, do you know what? I've just had a little thought. Rewind on that. From a structural point of view, what actually is better than that is the fact that it is written in a dramatic monologue. That shows his arrogance better because it's self-indulgent. Because we're forced to listen to one voice. Yeah, because although this is a conversation, it's only a one-way conversation. So actually that makes more sense. And this is what I mean, I'm just doing this along with you. It's good to really consider it. Don't just plonk anything on there. You want it to really work for you. Now, obviously, this looks messy and I know you will do it so much better, but hopefully it's clear to you the point I'm trying to make. So then I need to think, okay, what's another question that I could go for my last Duchess? And you literally just work through like this with the poem in front of you, thinking about all of those annotations and what you wrote and what is really key for you to remember. So I really want to get that parenthesis in there somewhere, which is this idea of manipulation. I'm always trying to link it to power and conflict. So I am going to go for the question, how does Browning suggest powerful people are manipulative? And then I'm going to go for the back of that one, and I'm going to go straight into structure. And I'm going to go for parenthesis. And then I'm going to whack a few quotations on there. So I don't want too many because obviously I've got to revise these. So I want to make sure I'm remembering. My favourite ones that show he's really being calculated are the how shall I say? And then my analysis of that is that it's disingenuine. He just likes drama. And then I suppose the other one that's quite a good one to go for is even had you skill in speech, which I have not. And again, I've got my annotations, so I know he's faking being faking being humble here. Why does that mean he's manipulative? Because he's trying to manipulate the response from somebody. We know that in terms of skill in speech, he talks so much, he does believe this. But he's pretending. Okay, so that's essentially all it would be. What I would do is to look at these poems and think, oh, that's such a good quotation. So I'm looking at My Last Duchess, for example, and I'm thinking, wow, I haven't even put the Notice Neptune, though taming a seahorse. I haven't put the wilt please you sit and look at her, wilt please you rise. There she stands as if alive. These are all really good images that I wish, my gift of a 900 years old name. So what I would have to think about, and I can see a pattern already, maybe another card I could make would be, how is power presented as controlling? Have I already done that? Arrogant, manipulative, corrupt. No. So then my next one could be, oh dear, Thursday and I'm acting like it's a Monday morning. So then I could think of another one, and that would be, how does Browning present power as controlling? And then I could fit a few in there about how people with power are presented as controlling. Okay, so then I would potentially do this one and then maybe one more. And then that would be My Last Duchess done. And you've actually only got, at this stage, if you've been following the tutorials, you should only have Ozymandias, London, My Last Duchess and Storm on the Island to do. You are aiming for 6 per poem, which is actually really easy to do, even with the shorter ones like Ozymandias, because there's so much that you would like to remember. So that's what I would do. I would look at the poems, look at your annotations and think, yeah, do you know what? I really want to be able to remember that. How can I turn that into a question? These then become really cool quiz cards. I say cool, obviously in the loosest term, cool for an English teacher, because they really, really will work. I'm just going to go back to my end screen here. Thank you so much. I hope this has helped. Enjoy.